So back when we installed the Faction Fab rotors on the car, I said that we were done messing with the brake system, and I lied. Today we are going to be installing the Verus Engineering brake cooling kits, and if you get the full kit, it basically includes everything you need. So you've got the inlet ducts, you get the hoses, the rotor backing plates, and all the miscellaneous hardware. Now if your car doesn't come with fog lights, you are going to need to get some fog light bezels, and I also went ahead and grabbed some wire mesh and adhered it to the back of the inlet ducts to act as a screen to help keep debris out. Now essentially what this kit does is takes cool air from where the fog lights usually would be and directs it to the brakes to help cool them down, because once those brakes get too hot, you start to get brake fade and they don't work as well as they should. So this is going to help keep those temps under control and keep the brakes consistent lap after lap. Now I've already gone ahead and taken off the front bumper, the wheels, and the fender liners to help get us started. The next step is going to be removing the brake calipers and rotors. Fairly simple process. There's just two 17mm bolts holding the caliper in place. I'm also going to remove the 12mm bolt that's holding the line to the strut, and then I can pull this off and set it on the lower control arm, and then we'll be able to pull the rotor off. We need to remove the factory backing plate next. It's just held in with three 12mm bolts. We're going to loosely install the new backing plates with the included bolts and spacers in the back. You're really only going to need two of these bolts for now. And what we're going to look for now is where the inlet duct pinches this speed sensor wire against the knuckle, and we need to mark that so that we can wrap the included foam to help protect it against any abrasion. So I'm going to mark it off with a Sharpie here, and then I'm going to take this back off and get the foam wrapped around that wire. Once that wire is protected with the included foam piece, we can reinstall the new backing plate and move on to the next step. Now when you are installing this, you want to make sure that that line is pinched in between the knuckle and the inlet duct to make sure it's not moving around and doesn't get abraded over time. Now we can throw the rotor back on here, secure it with two lug nuts, and check to make sure there aren't any clearance issues with that backing plate. We don't have any interference here, but if you do run into issues, you can bend that backing plate to make sure everything clears. Since we're good here, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the brake caliper and then continue on with the install. We're going to need to torque those two 17mm bolts to 59 foot-pounds. We're going to quickly jump over to the bumper to install the inlet duct mounting bracket, so grab the correct one for your vehicle. For the 17 and up, I believe it's the 3-prong, and then the older versions use this 4-prong. So we're going to take that, place it into the slots on the inside, and then use the included hardware to mount it to the bumper. Now if you already have fog lights, you'll just reuse your OEM hardware, but since I don't have fog lights, I'm going to use the included hardware. You can also see that I've uninstalled my OEM bezels, and once we get the inlet duct in there, I can install my windjet bezels. Slide the inlet duct in here. You want the inside portion to go towards the center of the car, towards the engine. Now that that's in there, I'm going to slide the bezel on. And now we're going to move back to the car. Back inside the wheel well, we're going to remove this plastic cover right here that's just held in with some pop clips inside here and underneath. We're gonna be looking for this hole next inside the wheel well. You need to drill it out using a 3/8 drill bit, which I've already done. And I've also applied some touch-up paint to make sure that the area doesn't rust. Then we're gonna take the included rivet nuts and the tool to install it and insert it into that hole. Make sure it's all the way seated. And then we need a 9/16 wrench on the tool and a 10mm socket to start tightening it down. Once you get a good amount of resistance, you know that that rivet nut is installed, and we can back out the tool and the bolt. Now we need to take a look at the plastic cover that we removed. This is the passenger side one, and if you compare it to the driver's side one, you'll see that in this area right here, there's a hump that sticks out a little bit further, and we need to trim that part so that the fender inlet duct can sit flush against here. So I'm gonna take a Dremel and cut off this portion here, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Again, this is just the passenger side. The driver's side one is actually flat there, so we don't need to do any cutting there. All right, so there you go. That is what it should look like once you have it cut. Again, you can use a Dremel or a sharp blade, but we just need to make sure this area right here is flat. Over on the driver's side, we are gonna lose the windshield washer fluid reservoir. They do make aftermarket tanks if you want to retain this function, but I find that I rarely use this anyway, so I'm just gonna remove it. We need to unclip and unplug the wiring harnesses. And you also need to pull this hose off here. Now my tank is empty right now, but once you pull this off, the fluid is gonna start flowing out, so you need to plug that somehow. Once the hoses and harnesses are out of the way, this is just held in with two 10mm bolts, one up here and then one in the back here. And then we'll be able to pull it off. I've also already gone ahead and removed the cap portion up top. I've got the plastic cover reinstalled on the car. Now we're going to install the mounting brackets for the fender inlet ducts into the rivet nut that we installed. Take the included hardware, and we're just gonna hand tighten that for now. Then we can take the inlet duct and one of the nuts to secure that into place. Now this bracket is gonna be at a slight angle. Again, we wanna make sure that the fender inlet duct is clearing this section here. Otherwise, you'll need to cut more off of the plastic piece. And this end here is going to be pretty close to the pinch weld on the front. Once you have it aligned where it needs to be or where you like it, we can tighten these two down. With that installed, now it's just a matter of getting the front bumper back on the car and then getting the hoses routed. A quick tip to help prolong the life of your hoses is to take some gaff tape, wrap the ends here, leaving about half off, and then you can make relief cuts all around and press the extra inside of the hose. I've got the orange hose installed here. As you can see, I have it routed underneath the strut, and I actually have it zip tied right here to the lower control arm, and now we can move on to the black hose. I've got the black hose clamped to the inlet duct and the fender duct, so all the hoses and ducting are installed. The next thing we need to do is reinstall the fender liner and then trim out the area where this bracket sticks out, as well as where the fender duct is, to make sure everything clears. And then we need to get the wheel back on the car, put it on the ground, and then check for any clearance issues. If you guys do happen to run into any clearance issues, you have two different options. One, you can uninstall the hoses and fender duct and wait until you get to the track to install them, or 2, you can install the included steering rack limiter kit. Right now, I'm leaning towards installing the limiter kit because I don't want to have to take the kit on and off. All we have to do is remove the clamp on the steering rack boot and then install these spacers and then reinstall the boot and clamp it down. So I'm probably gonna drive the car into the shop, put it on a lift and do that, but that pretty much concludes the install. I can't wait to get the car back out on the track and not have to worry as much about brake fade since I know they're getting a constant supply of cool air. If you guys wanna pick up this kit for yourself, I will leave a link down below. If you guys have any suggestions or products you'd like to see on this car, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys later.